Resourceful Designer, episode 259, Promoting Yourself on Client Projects.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. After years of wanting one, he finally got an Apple Watch and loves it. Mark Descote.
Yep, I got myself an Apple Watch Series 5 and it's been great. I love being able to see the temperature or the UV index without taking out my phone, just lift my wrist and see it there. I love the easy access to Siri or controlling my podcasts and audiobooks from my watch. I also like the ability to track my daily activities as well as monitoring my health and sleep activities and getting my notifications, as well as answering the phone. Oh, and of course, it tells time too. Anyway, in this week's episode, I continue this Bootstrap Advertising series by discussing where you can include your name and possibly more in order to gain exposure. And be sure to stay tuned after this conversation, where I'm going to share a great resource, especially if you're into photography or if you're an illustrator, for keeping track of who and how your work is being used online. So stay tuned after the conversation for that. But for now, promoting yourself on client projects. In last week's episode, part 1 of this Bootstrap Advertising series, I discussed bartering your services in order to get exposure, which is not the same as agreeing to work for free in exchange for exposure. If you haven't listened to last week's episode yet, episode 258, please go do so before continuing with this series. Well, in this week's episode, I'm going to share other ways that you can get exposure by promoting yourself on your client's work. Now, if you remember the definition of exposure from last week, it means making people aware of your design business. After all, people can't hire you if they don't know you exist. So the goal here is to get your name or your business name or even your logo in front of as many people as possible. With this sort of promotion, what you're actually doing is going for the shotgun approach. There's nothing scientific or targeted about it. You are trying to hit the masses and hope that someone who sees it is in need, or at least knows somebody that's in need of your services. This spray and pray approach, if you want to call it that, is why it's considered bootstrap advertising. Now, if you're not familiar with the term bootstrap, I know I didn't mention it last week, either bootstrap or bootstrapping. It means to promote or develop by initiative and effort with little or no assistance. In other words, bootstrap advertising is a form of getting your name out there with very little effort on your part and practically zero expense. And that's why this, once again, spray and pray approach is okay. It's not really costing you anything, but it can bring back great benefits. So how exactly do you go about promoting yourself on client projects? Well, I'm going to share 2 methods that I've used over the years. The first one is put your name on everything you can. When it comes to the work that I design for my clients, my stance is, I designed it, my name deserves to be on it. Just like an artist who signs their work, I like to include my name on my designs. And that means I include my name on everything I do for my clients, from websites to posters to brochures to car wraps to wedding invitations, you name it. About the only thing that I don't put my name on is their business card. And that's for obvious reason. Could you imagine looking at a business card and seeing the person's name and then somebody else's name at the bottom of it? That just wouldn't work. So basically, if I can get away with it, I put my name on the design. And I've learned over the years that, as the old adage goes, it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Now, I learned this way back when I worked at the print shop. If you ask a client if it's okay to put your name on their project, I'd say there's a 50-50 chance that they'll say, no, I'd prefer if you didn't. And sometimes if you ask them, is it okay if I put your name on their project? They'll actually ask you back, well, do I get a discount or anything if you put your name on it? And then that opens up a whole other can of worms. However, if you just go ahead and put your name on it without asking, I'd say 1 in 20, that's roughly about 5% of clients will actually ask you to remove it. And that's why I never ask a client if I can put my name on their project. I just present the work to them, the proof before it goes to press or before it's published or anything. I present the work with my name and sometimes my logo, if there's room for it, already on there. And if the client asks me to remove it, I'll take it off without any fuss. That's not a big deal. But in my experience, there have been very, very few clients over the years who have actually asked me to take my name or my logo off their project. Now, for printed work, my name and logo appears in a small, inconspicuous corner of the project, kind of, as I said earlier, like an artist's signature. It's there, but it's not really meant to be seen. On posters, I'll include it usually on the bottom right or bottom left, depending on the poster. On brochures, I'll try to include it on usually the back cover. And sometimes what I'll do on a brochure, or sometimes a book cover, is if there's a lot of text, a lot of copy on it, I'll put my information, my company name, running vertically instead of horizontally along the edge of the spine. That way there's no mistaking it as part of the actual copy of the book cover. Now, as I said, on a book or a booklet, I'll try to put it on the back cover, but if I can't, then the next thing I'll do is try to include it on the inside front cover or the inside back cover. And if not, then if they have like some sort of copyright page or something inside, I'll include it on there. So I do this, as I said, for every project I do. And over the years, I've included my names on posters, brochures, flyers, rack cards, books and booklets, door hangers, reports, pocket folders, event tickets, invitations, stickers and decals, vehicle wraps, window signage, banners. There's probably a whole bunch of other things I've done it too that I just can't think of right now. I've even included my name on trade show booths that I've designed. I've done several of those, those pop-up or roll-up banners that people have. I'll put my name at the bottom right of those. I've even done some of those big walls, those 8-foot tall by 10-foot wide backdrop walls for trade shows. And I'll put my name and my logo on the bottom right-hand corner of them. Usually with those walls, there's not a lot of information towards the bottom because people want to be able to see it as they're walking by, and sometimes there's a table in front of the wall. So they try not to put too much information towards the bottom. So there's lots of room to put my name and logo saying designed by Marksman Design. Now, on a website, the obvious place is in the footer, or sometimes in an actual separate bar below the footer. Divi, which I use to build all my websites, makes this really, really easy to do because they have that extra bar at the bottom. Usually you put the copyright information in there. They have some social media icons there. So next to the copyright information, I'll put designed by, and depending on whether I'm doing it through Marksman Design or podcast branding, it'll say either or, and it includes a link back to the website. Now, I do make that link, just so you know, I make it a no-follow link. There's been some talk through SEO whether that's it should be a follow link or not, but I make it a no-follow link, meaning that Google doesn't actually follow that link, but anybody that sees it and is interested can click on it and reach me. And sometimes when I do t-shirts, depending on the price, I'll have my screen printer add my logo really small to the sleeve. And my screen printer is a great guy. And depending on the size of the order, how many t-shirts we're doing and how many colors and all that, sometimes he'll add my logo to the sleeve at no extra cost. And if he does end up charging me, I usually just weigh the option on whether or not it's worth spending the money, cutting into my profits because I'm brokering the printing on the t-shirt, so I make some money off the t-shirt printing. Is it worth eating into my profit there in order to put my name on their sleeve? And oftentimes it is. Think about it. Everybody walking around wearing one of those shirts has my name displayed on their sleeve. And it's really small, kind of like the brand name. You know, you've seen shirts where it has like the Reebok or the Nike or the Adidas logo on the sleeve. Well, I do the same thing, but it's my business logo. So whenever possible, I try to include my name on every printed piece and on websites that I design. And as I said, for the most part, very, very few clients ever ask me to remove it. And that's just free exposure. Now, the second method I want to share with you is showcasing yourself via an ad. And to be honest, I'm always surprised when this following method works, but it has for me several times over the years, so it's worth mentioning. Have you ever designed something for a client that includes space for ads? Thinking back, I remember designing event programs, local tourism maps, placemats for diners, pocket folders, some magazine layouts, and there's probably other things that I can't think of. And what all of these things had in common was ads in the design that the client then would sell. Take, for example, a program for a local theater company. The program contains information about the theater company, about the play that they're putting on, the individual cast members, maybe some information about past plays they've done and upcoming plays they're doing. But the rest of the space in the program, they then sell to people to be sponsors for that play. It's a great way for them to help cover the printing costs. They don't have to pay for it out of pocket. They can get money from the sponsors that covers the cost of printing the program. Now, usually, anytime I design something like this, whether it's a program or a map or whatever it is, usually I end up designing the piece up front for the client with all the pertinent information, like for the theater company, all the information about the play, the cast, and all that. I'll design the entire thing for them as a booklet and then supply them a PDF. And that way the client gets to see how many places there are for ads, because they may want to sell a quarter-page ad or a business card size ad or a half-page ad. And once they see the layout, then they can figure out how many places there are for ads. Well, here's my trick. Anytime I do a project like this, I always include an ad for my business in the initial proof. Now, I do this and I tell the client I included an ad in there in order to show them how big the ad will be, what it'll look like, and for them to get a feel for how much information could go into an ad. Now, I'll usually just put like a business card size ad, and it's just to show them that, you can get a phone number and a website and just a little bit of information. So if they're trying to sell the ad, the person can't put like a big list of services and all that in a small ad like that. So I do it as a quote unquote courtesy to the client for them to be able to show people, look, this is what an ad would look like in the magazine. And you know what? I'd say 75% of the time, the client never asks me to remove my ad. Again, I'll gladly remove it if they ask me to, but they rarely do. And not once in all my years of doing this has the topic of me paying for my ad spot ever come up. Over the years, I've had an ad in several programs for theater productions, as I mentioned, sporting events, entertainment events, fairs, festivals, and many other things. I've also had my ad appear on local maps, on paper diner placemats, those disposable placemats that a lot of diners use that have ads all over them. On the back of pocket folders for real estate agents and mortgage brokers, these are things they hand out to their clients that has all sorts of information for a new homeowner. Well, I don't know, maybe a new homeowner needs web design or graphic design as well, because my ads appeared there. And even in a few local business magazines where I would be hired by, say, our local township, hired me to do a spread. And in that spread, they were showcasing certain businesses in the area. Well, when I gave them the proof, I put my ad as one of the ads they were showcasing, and they left it in. All because the initial project proof included my ad, and the clients never asked me to remove it. Now, a funny story is one client actually did apologize, saying that, "Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry. We made a mistake and we oversold, or we double booked one of the ad spots. And would it be okay if we took your ad out and put this other person's ad in?" And of course I said yes. My ads were never meant to be in there in the first place. But this client actually felt bad that I was losing my ad spot. But every time this happens, it was free advertising that gained me great exposure, all because I took a few extra minutes to put an ad, and all it was my logo, my information, contact information, and stuff. So creating a simple ad to put in it, with the knowledge that the client could easily remove it or ask me to take it off, but they rarely do. Now, one of the websites I designed for a local association, they asked me when I initially designed the website, they wanted to include 3 ad spots on the homepage. Now, their plan was to sell these ads for association members. So these members could promote their own business to the association or anybody who visits the website. Well, again, when I designed the website, instead of leaving 3 blank spots for ads, I put my ad in the first blank spot. So it showed my ad and then 2 blank spots next to it, even though I'm not even a member of this association. Well, I designed that website in 2017, and my ad is still on the front page of their website. The other 2 spots, they've changed over the years. They've sold them and multiple times because I've gone back to the website if I have to do updates or stuff like that, and I'll notice that they have different ads in those 2 extra spots. But in all that time, they have never asked me to remove the ad, and they have access. They do it themselves. They put the ads in and out. They have never replaced my ad. Every time I've ever gone there, my ad has been in place, and I'm not going to question them about it. So whenever given the opportunity, if you ever create anything that has ads on it, or sometimes even a sponsor list, if you just want to show the client what a sponsor list will look like, include your logo in the sponsor list. If they don't want it, they'll ask you to take it off. No big deal. So when given the opportunity, present your proof to your client with a quote-unquote temporary ad, and then cross your fingers that they don't ask to remove it. So these are 2 great methods that I've used over the years to get free exposure without spending anything. 1, I put my name on absolutely everything I design. And 2, anytime I design something that has an ad or they require spaces for ads, I make sure to include an ad from my business as a, look, this is what an ad would look like type thing. And most of the time, as I said, there's a few occasions, but most of the time, the client ends up leaving my ad in the program or whatever it is. So why do these 2 methods work? Well, the idea behind this, once again, is to get your name out there. If people don't know you, there is 0 chance they'll hire you. But by putting your name on as many things as you can, those who do see it will eventually take notice. Think about it. A new entrepreneur is looking for a designer to help brand their brand new business. They've got the next big thing coming out, and they need somebody to create a perfect brand for them. And they remember seeing your name on a store poster. They saw an ad in an event program. They saw your logo on the sleeve of their kid's dance recital t-shirt. And they saw you mentioned in a local magazine or something. Well, this person is going to think, wow, this designer must be good since I've been seeing their name everywhere. Therefore, a lot of people must trust him or her. Well, that confidence, that trust that they feel, even though they've never met you, along with the repeated recognition of seeing your name in all these different places, is usually good enough for them to reach out and want to hire you for their project. All because you included your name on everything you could. Believe me, I've been doing this ever since I started my design business, and I can tell you it works. The more people who know about you, the more successful you will be. And isn't that what you're going for? Now, I will tell you a side benefit of putting your name on everything, and that is that the person you're dealing with at your client's company, that person may change. They may retire, they may leave to get another job, and somebody will come in and take their place. So Sally, who is your contact person at client X, she may retire. She's done her time, she's retiring, and now young Jason is coming in to take over her job. Well, maybe Sally forgot to inform Jason who they use for design. Well, lucky for you, you've included your name on everything you've done for that client. So now, when Jason picks up one of the old brochures, he looks at the back and he goes, oh, designed by, and there's your name. So now Jason knows exactly who to contact. That's another reason to put your name on everything you can. And I can tell you over the years, I've been contacted by people that say, hey, Mark, I see your name on the back of the brochure. Did you design this for us? And it's like, yeah, I have. Great. I have a new project for you. Are you willing to take this on? All because I included my name on things. So whenever you can, your name goes on everything you can until the client asks you to take it off. Don't ask for permission up front because 50-50, that's the experience I had when I worked at the print shop. It was about 50-50. Some people would say, yeah, no, I'd prefer not have that on there. But if I just put it on there, rarely would anybody ask me to take it off. And I'm not trying to hide it or sneak it in or anything like that. If for some reason I forgot to put it on the first proof, I would not then include it on a subsequent proof. But the client has the chance to see it and approve everything with my name on there, so be it. It's all about getting exposure. Now, next week, in part 3 of this Bootstrap Advertising series, I'll cover what might be one of the best ways for you to get exposure, and that's through local media. So be sure not to miss that episode. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do so now so that you don't miss that or any future episodes. Now, before I sign off, I'd like to share a little bit of what I've been up to. I signed a client for a website refresh. This is a huge website that has been around for a few years, actually quite a few years. This is an existing client who I built a new website for last year, and she was so impressed with the website I built her that now she's asking me to refresh her old, outdated website. Now, I think I might have mentioned this before that we were in talking. Well, now contract's been signed, deposits received, and I'm scheduling the work. And I can't wait to get started on it. I was also hired to design a few real estate maps for a client. They're developing a new subdivision in our area, and they need something that looks better than the blueprint they have to hand out to the contractors and all that. So this is more of a trace job. I get the blueprint, I trace out the map with all the properties on it, and they want the building lots to be color-coded based on different criteria for like size of lots or type of lots and all that. So it should be really interesting. I've done this before for this client, so I'm very familiar with the process and what's involved. But it's always fun to do something like this. It's a little different than what I normally do. And of course, I have more podcast artwork to do. I'm actually doing 2 different artworks for a husband and wife who are each starting a podcast in the same niche. So they're not podcasting together. They're each starting their own podcasts. But the way they're doing is his podcast is going to cover the niche from the male perspective, and her podcast will cover it from the female perspective. So even though they're 2 different shows, they're both going to be on the same website and all that. So I have to make sure that the cover artworks complement each other, even though it's 2 completely different podcasts. So I'm going to have fun with that one, just trying to make sure that the 2 artworks, when they're viewed side by side, look good together. So that's just a little bit of what I've been up to. Now, of course, the Resourceful Designer community is also keeping me busy. There's always great conversations going on in one of the Slack channels or another. So many members doing interesting things. And speaking of members, I want to give a special shout out to Jason and his wife on their new baby girl, Ezra, who was born earlier this week. Jason shared a photo, and wow, what a cutie. So congratulations to both you, Jason, and to your wife. Yep, we don't only talk about design in the community, there's real life conversations as well. And that's why we're all so close. And let me tell you, it's great sharing in the struggles and eventual triumphs of all these people. And it's because of the support of the community. The most of the struggles do end up becoming triumphs. We're all helping each other. I can't tell you how great these people are. You really have to experience it for yourself. And you can do that by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/community and becoming a member today. Now, as I said at the beginning, I've got a resource of the week to share with you. And this is one, if you are into photography or if you're an illustrator or an artist of any sort, you're really going to want to pay attention to this. This week's resource is a website called Pixsy.com, and that's Pixsy.com. And Pixsy is a great resource for photographers and illustrators to keep track, or should I say, stay on top of who is using their images. If you sell your images through any stock image platform or you have them displayed on your own website, you're often left wondering, what do the people do when they purchase the images from you? Well, Pixsy.com allows you to discover where and how your images are being used online. It's kind of like Google's reverse image search, but so much better because you can upload a whole bunch of images and then keep track of them. And what's great about this is it's a great resource for battling image theft. Find out who's using your copyrighted material, and then you can use Pixsy's tools to help you resolve the issue. Now, best of all, you can start using Pixsy for free. They have a free plan, and you only need to upgrade when and if you need to take advantage of one of their premium features, such as issuing a takedown notice, because they will help you. If you find somebody using your image and they're infringing on copyright, they didn't purchase the image from you and they're just stole it off your website or whatever, Pixie has all the tools for you to issue a takedown notice. And if it goes further than that, they even have lawyers working with them that can help you rectify the situation. So as I said, if you're a photographer or an illustrator, you will want to bookmark pixie.com. Once again, that's pixsy.com. And take a stand in the battle against copyright theft. So that's this week's Resource of the Week. So be sure to stay tuned next week for part 3 of this Bootstrap Advertising series. Until then, I am Mark Decote, wishing you all the best with your design business and reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.